go. You guys, man, you are funny. Hey, welcome, friends. Let's all do the wave. Woo! Oh my gosh, so ridiculous. Welcome, friends in the room, and friends in Fort Worth, and in Houston, El Paso. This is my family sitting on the front rows. And Tulsa, College up in the loft, all the different people that are joining us right now from wherever you are. Hey, anyone a big fan of pineapples? Yeah, wow. Man, we got to get you guys out more, okay? Hey, here's a little fun fact about pineapples. This probably costs about $2, maybe $3 today. But there was a time in the history of the pineapple where a pineapple would have cost you about 8,000. This is a terrible pineapple. It's falling apart. $8,000. When Columbus. Oh, I love it. Hey, you guys, you got me. I love it. You got me on that one. Hey, there was a time where Columbus discovered the pineapple in the ancient and the New World, and he brought this fruit back, and it was such a luxury item. They'd never seen anything like it before. When Christopher Columbus discovered it, they brought it back to England, and this thing became like only the elite of the elite had access to a pineapple. It became such a status symbol that people wouldn't even eat the pineapple. I mean, true story. In today's money, it would have been the equivalent of $8,000. Think about that. What I'm holding right now, if you back up to the 1600s or 1700s, I mean, this thing would be worth more than my car. This thing would be worth, in such a way, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that guy has a pineapple. Everyone would gather down front, want to take pictures with the pineapple. True story. This is not crazy. In fact, there's even a famous picture by King Charles II of England, where in the 1670s, he commissioned someone to do a painting of him receiving a pineapple. It's hard to see, but that's what that guy has been down holding up. Here's a pineapple for you, sir. That this was such a status symbol in the ancient world. Here you go, Billy. You enjoy that. You earned it. That people who couldn't afford a pineapple, there was somebody who was out there who was a hustler who's like, hey, we're going to work around that. You may not be able to afford a pineapple, but we will rent you a pineapple that you can take around to parties with you and carry it. No one ate them. They were literally just a status symbol. You walk into the house, you'd be like, oh my gosh, there's the pineapple on the wall. This is incredible. These guys really have arrived in life. Mama made it. Pineapple. And it's crazy. Because today we look at it and like, oh, what? I mean, that's like $2 to $3. No one would keep a pineapple. No one thinks it's that big of a deal. And it just is almost mind-boggling. Now, what does that have to do with what I'm talking about tonight? Well, here's what's interesting. The pineapple hasn't changed. Same fruit, same kind of prickly outside, same top on it. The pineapple, point being, hasn't changed. Our perspective on it has. Thanks to the invention of kind of modern agriculture and modern industry, we've been able to mass produce, not just pineapple, all kinds of foods. And because of that, the value of this thing that was once seen as such incredibly valuable has plummeted. But the pineapple hasn't changed. Just our perspective on it has. And I think that's such a great parallel and illustration for what we're going to talk about tonight, which is the topic of sex. That sex was this thing that was to be this exclusive experience between one man and one woman for life. This thing that you would enter into with a spouse, with a husband or a wife, that you would never have to wonder if they were comparing you to someone else because you were the only someone they'd ever been with. This thing that you never had to worry, am I going to get an STD with this person? And this thing that was of such incredible value that God created and he gave to be experienced exclusively. Something incredibly valuable that we live in a culture that has so devalued this thing, and sex hasn't changed. Our perspective on it has. And we're in a series called Lyrics and Lies, and tonight we're going to cover a topic that is wreaking havoc on our country, on many of us in the room, on all of our lives at some point in some way. We've all been impacted by the devaluing of sex that has taken place in culture all around us, and particularly, tonight we're going to talk about some of the lies that we've been sold about sex in the songs that we sing, in the songs that we hear, in the songs that really shaped us as we grew up. We're in this series called Lyrics and Lies Anthem Edition. What's Lyrics and Lies Anthem Edition? It's essentially looking back the last 10 to 15 years where we explore some of the songs that shaped so much of our growing up. Maybe it was your high school, maybe it came out. These songs came out when you were in junior high, but just kind of anthems that our generation has rallied around, big hits that all of them, we all know the songs. Some of them, they were our ringtones at some point in time. They were that song that brings back, junior year or that someone. And looking at different lies that were contained in some of them. So tonight, we're going to talk about, I could pick any song like this, and it's going to hit something with a sexual lie inside of it. It just seems to be what all of them are about. But here's one that is probably as famous as any song, and I may go on record to say maybe the best beat in the 21st century. I mean, great beats, man. The 2000s took first place for sure in the beats, but they introduced something that has been toxic around the topic of sex. I mean, what I mean by, I could literally pick any song. I mean, think about so many of the songs that were famous. Thong Song by Cisco. Bootylicious by Destiny's Child. Shake Your Tail Feather by Murphy Lee. My Chick Bad by Ludacris. Lollipop by Lil Wayne. That was a test. That was a test. And everyone who said Lil Wayne, you are dismissed. By Lil Wayne. There's so many littles. Little John, Lil Wayne, Little. Okay, Hot in Here by Nelly. Not Hot in Here, Hot in Her. Candy Shop, Disco Inferno, Blurred Lines, Get Low. I mean, Milkshake. Something happened. We went in the 90s from, I want it that way to the window, to the wall. And I'm going to stop there. And it's dude, wow, that escalated quickly, okay? I mean, it just quickly, all of a sudden, culture became so sexualized. I mean, truly, it just exploded wherever the song, and it only gets worse. I mean, we were talking to our team today about some of the songs out today, and it's man, we have become so desensitized as a culture. I mean, songs that our parents or our grandparents would have heard and been oh my gosh, are just kind of man, it's awesome, it's a great beat. And it's almost disturbing how desensitized, myself included, we've all become to some of the message. I mean, it's audio porn, especially some of the songs that are coming out today. When you look at Fifi, you look at just any number of everything that Nicki Minaj has ever put out, or you look at, Post Malone stuff. I mean, it's sad. And is it any wonder, at a time in our world, we live in such weird times, because on the one hand, everything is so sexualized. Everything is, I can't even read some of the lyrics. It's oh my gosh, I'm uncomfortable, and I'm your pastor. I can't read this to you. And at the same time, it's clear that there's such dysfunctional sexual behavior that has plagued and is still plaguing so many of the lives in our country. I mean, we live at a time where between, Little John or Lil Wayne putting out Get Low, and then you have Harvey Weinstein and everything going on with the Me Too movement. We live at a time where rape levels today, according to Megan Meeker, in her book Strong Fathers and Strong Daughters, said that 11.9% of females will experience forced intercourse in their lives. We live at a time where STDs among the millennial generation are spiking back up. There had been a tremendous decline, and for the first time really in the past couple decades, they're back on the rise. Where divorce and marriages that have been just eroded or destroyed because of sexual unfaithfulness of a partner. Where abortion, 1 million children will be aborted in 2018 because of sex outside of the context of marriage and an unwanted pregnancy. That's 3,000 children a day in our country, just our country. In a time where sex outside of marriage is so responsible for not just abortion, but also for single-parent homes. For the very first time, a majority, 54% of children will be raised in a single-parent household. 54%. Where sex has clearly had all kinds of catastrophic impact on our lives, and we sing it and we celebrate it, and these musicians promote it, and inside of the music are such deep, destructive, and toxic lies. And so we're going to talk about a couple of them tonight, and specifically what's interesting and challenging about this subject is I think there's really, there's a lot of lies contained in some of these songs, but there's a message consistently projected to the men and consistently projected to the women, and they're slightly different, and it's important to distinguish them because I think they impact each of us in different ways among the lines of men and women. So I'm going to talk first about the lies that are being told to men, and then I want to look at some of the lies that are being told to women, and then I want to look at some of the remedies from God's word that we're told in response to these lies that we can live by. So the first one, let's talk about the lies that are coming to men, and that's as clearly or as simply as I can put it, that women are sex objects. I mean, this is every song, whether it's Shake Your Tail Feather, In the Club, Akon, Smack That, is that women are here for sex. You should sleep with them. You should have sex with whoever, whenever, as often as you can, however. That women are there, and essentially the benefit that women are there to provide for men, you should see them as sex objects. What do I mean by that? I mean, look at Ludacris in Usher's famous or well-known song, Yeah. I'm just going to read some of his lyrics. And when you stop and read them, you're like, oh, wow, man, I can't believe you said that. So here, I'll read them and kind of unpack. My outfit's so ridiculous, in this club looking so conspicuous. He's proud of his outfit. And row, these women all on the prowl. If you hold your head steady, I'm going to milk the cow. I'm not even going to go into that because that's a sexual innuendo I'm uncomfortable even reading. Forget about the game. I'm going to spit the truth. I won't stop until I get them in their birthday suits. And I don't think he means suits with balloons on the outside. I think he means naked. So give me the rhythm and it will be off with their clothes. Then bend over to the front and touch your toes. I left the jag and I took the rolls. If they ain't cutting it, then I put them on foot patrol. Basically, hey, I'm not going to stop until they get their clothes off. And if they won't comply, they can walk and not have a ride in the car. So give me the rhythm and it'll be off. How you like me now when my pinky's valued over 300,000. He's got a big ring. And let's drink either one to please. Ludacris fills cups like double D's. I have no idea other than he's clearly talking about boobs. Me and Ush, once more, will leave him dead. We want a lady in the street, but a freak in the bed. And then you look at songs like Blurred Lines and T.I. and his part of that song. So I'm watching and waiting for you to salute the true big pimpin'. Not many women can refuse this pimpin'. I'm a nice guy, but don't get confused. This is pimpin'. So I don't want to be any confusion here. I am here to use you for sex, T.I. says. So right there, we read it, or we played it earlier. I like the way you look in them pants, see you fine. Your mama a quarter piece. She's far from a dime. Not sure why he even goes there, but the type of girl that'll get you up and go make you grind. I'm thinking about snatching her up, dirty, making her mine. Look at her hips, what? Look at her legs. Ain't she stacked? I'm sure I wouldn't mind hitting that from the back. There is a clear message in each one of these songs that women are there and they're sex objects to be lusted over or to sleep with if you can. And it is so toxic. And I know it seems like these are extreme things, but when you think about the ways that men, myself included, you are being bombarded every day with this lie that women are sex objects. And it feels like, oh, that's a little extreme. Would I really be bombarded? I mean, just think about the way that sex has been so commercialized in our culture. The pornography epidemic, which only feeds into this, which is a bigger business industry than ABC, NBC, and CBS combined, bigger than the NFL, bigger than the NBA. 1/3 of internet traffic is pornography. All of it's feeding into this. To just even candidly, the hypersexualization that you can't escape, man. And neither can I. What do I mean by that? I mean, imagine if you lived in a time in a world where the very first time that you ever saw a woman in her underwear or in a bikini was on your wedding night. You can't live in that world. Society around us has taken that option. What do I mean by that? I can't drive down the highway without seeing a woman in a bikini. You can't turn on TV. You can't watch a commercial without seeing cleavage thrust in front of you. And so I have deep sympathy, but I want us to all be on the same page and know, man, there is a war and you are under an attack by an enemy who wants to take you out and wants to take that sex drive and let it drive your life to pornography, to abuse, to introducing sex into a relationship, to one-night stands, that there is an enemy that wants to take you out. And I don't even think we realize how immersed we are in the sexualization that has taken place all around us. It is so far from the biblical values that tragically, that we're to have, and it's a tragedy that we're so far. What do I mean by biblical values? That Paul says, hey, this is what I want the young men to do. I want younger men to treat older women as mothers, 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 2. And younger women, or young women, as sisters with absolute purity. In our culture around us, at the same time that chastises men who clearly abuse, here clearly follow the lies that the culture is feeding us. That's what Harvey Weinstein is doing. It's disgusting. Let's be clear. But he's logically following what the message that the men inside of this room, you're being fed every single day. I'm going to talk about what we do in response to that. But it's clearly what's happening. Essentially, what we're being told, what the music we listen to tells us, what so many of the messages that you hear is, hey, women are something you use, and then you kind of, when you're done with it, you trade it in or you get rid of it. Essentially like, hey, treat women like a rental car. What do I mean by that? A rental car is something that, hey, you use, you keep it, you keep it for a time, but then when you're done with it, you kind of get rid of it. You don't really pour time and energy into it. Like, no one in the room has ever gone and gotten an oil change on their rental car. Can we agree there? No one is like, I was going to take this back to Hertz, but I'm going to get the car washed, really clean this thing up a little. No, everyone's like, I don't care. I live trash all over it. I get the insurance, and I drive it any way that I want. That is what culture is saying men are to do as it relates to women. And is there any wonder how messed up our society is around this issue? And the lie that's being told to women is just as toxic. What do I mean by that? The second idea I want to talk about tonight is the lie that's being told to women. The lie that's being told to women, which is this: you ladies should use your body to get what you want. Use your body, whether that's in the way that you dress, in the way that you dance, in the way that you look, in the way that you in sex. Use your body. Men are being told to use women. Women are being told, hey, use your body to get what you want. What do I mean by that? You read songs. There's so many different examples, but the one that we just heard from Black Eyed Peas, My Humps. My love, my love, my love, your lovely lady lumps. So her curves. My hump, my hump, my hump, my humps, they got you. She got me spending all my money on me. And spending time on me, she got me spending. Oh, spending all your money on me. Oh my gosh. It's such bad grammar. Time on me. What you gonna do with all that junk inside of that trunk? I'm gonna get you drunk. Get you drunk. Get you love drunk off my hump. Then I'm gonna use it to lure you in. I'm gonna use it as bait and intoxicate you. Or Khalees, milkshake. My milkshake, my body and the way that it moves brings all the boys to the yard. Not sure which yard she's talking about, but... And they're like, it's better than yours, right? It's better than yours. I can teach you, but I have to charge. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours, right? It's better than yours. I can teach you, but I have to charge. I know you want it. The thing that makes me what guys go crazy for, they lose their mind for, the way I wind, I think it's time. The message, essentially, to women is similar. It's essentially like, hey, dude, the guys out there, they are like crazy about women and their curves and their bodies, and they just can't. You should use that to your advantage. Use it to get the things that you want. Use it to, whether that the things you want are like, hey, I just want free drinks tonight. Whether the things you want are attention from that guy, he's kind of cute over there, I'm going to pose in a certain way. It may not even be in terms of a relationship. It may be like, hey, kind of use it to get out of a ticket, and I'm flirting, wink, wink, and here we go. Use it to get a job. Use it. You should use your body to get what you want. It may just be you had a hard day and you want some attention or affirmation, and that's okay. And it is a lie. And it's furthering the divide, and it's making the problem worse. And on both sides, it's broken. On both sides, it's a lie. The reason use your body as bait to get a guy is so dangerous, try to be clear, is it will work. Like if you use your body as bait to get a guy, it's gonna work. I don't think you're gonna like the guy that you're gonna get, but if you use your body as bait, it's gonna work. There's a guy out there that would love to take that bait. You know, in fishing, I don't know if we have many fishers in the room. I'm not a huge fisherman. I have family that loves to fish. But one thing I do know, having spent time with fishermen, is that the bait that you choose to use will determine the fish that you catch. I'm glad everyone came, in case you don't feel like you're getting your money's worth. How about that? The bait that you use, in terms of, is it a worm or is it, a piece of meat or hot dog or whatever it is, the bait you use will determine the fish that you catch. All the fishermen are like, did he say hot dog right now? He has no idea what he's talking about. But he is accurate in that the bait you use determines the fish that you catch. The bait that you use will determine the type of guy that you're going to catch. And I don't, as your brother in Christ, as someone who is deeply concerned and cares about you sisters, I do not think you're going to like the guy that you catch. If your body is your bait, you're going to catch a guy who wants you for your body, which means he will trade you in for another body as soon as possible. Let me say it a little bit more clearly. If you catch a guy because of your boobs, you will lose him because of your boobs to some other girl. You are going to attract a type of guy you do not want. And so if you play the game that, hey, I'm going to dress a certain way, I'm going to take pictures in a certain way to show off and accentuate, you're going to get attention for sure. I just don't think you're going to get attention from the type of guys that you're going to want long term. From the type of guys who are following Jesus wholeheartedly. I think the biggest temptation in the room, if I'm sitting there from just my friends, ladies here, is that there's something almost like vindicating. The temptation is like, I'm going to use my body to almost kind of get back some of the control. Because I sit here and there's a bunch of guys and they don't ask out and they just kind of sit on their hands. They're all passive, so I'm going to like kind of take action and I'm going to get out there. And there's not just that. There's also like, man, guys can be total jerks. They don't call me back. They tell me they're going to do something and they don't. And so I can kind of come out here and it feels like empowering to kind of dress a certain way, get attention in a certain way. And it's a response because of being hurt. There's a temptation essentially to like, man, I want to put myself in the driver's seat. And how I dress, how I look, and how I behave. And tragically, the answer is not to try to put yourself in the driver's seat by the way that you dress or with your sexuality. The answer is to change the people that you're driving in the car with. There are godly men out there who are not looking for you to dress in a certain way, wear a certain level of clothes, and if those are the guys that you're hanging out with, you're hanging out with the wrong guys. You may be thinking, that's all guys out there. You are hanging out in the wrong spots. To be clear, there's a lot of guys inside of this room who are like that. And they're looking for bait, and they want to zoom in, and they're running towards just whatever fits the curves or the humps that they're looking for. That's in this room. But there's a lot of godly men in this room. There's like a lot of godly men out there who are not looking for curves. They're looking for a woman who has character. And if you date someone, and the reason why they're attracted to you is simply your curves, you are dating someone who is with you because of a depreciating asset. He's dating you because of something that is not going to last. If you date a guy just because of the way he looks, you're dating someone for a depreciating asset, something that's not going to last. Gravity wins on all of us. It just does. Can I get an amen from somebody over 28? Thank you. It's like, dang, my back is hurting, and all I did was like dry off out of the shower. I'm so old. And at the same time, I am so sorry for the guys who have mistreated the girls in this room. They may not have even been here, but you didn't deserve that. And sadly, it's all too common of an experience. But at the same time, the answer is not to take back control and get in the driver's seat by seeking to use your body to get what you want. The answer is surround yourself with people following Jesus, and you follow Jesus. And that problem is likely to fix itself. Will there be wolves, or is there someone that could appear on the outside like they're following Jesus? Yes. But you will tremendously increase your chances of dating the wrong guy or the wrong girl if you date outside of God's people and you don't date in community with other believers inside of your life speaking into that. I have a daughter that's 12 weeks old now, and my heart breaks for her and and for so many girls in this room. And it is disgusting, the sexualization of women. And my heart, candidly, is fearful over the temptation that she's going to feel, that she needs to behave a certain way, have some sort of sexual experience, which still, all the temptations that are going to rush in because all the messages that are being fed to you every day about how you need to look, how sexual you need to be a virgin, but also be a lady in the street and a freak in the bed. All the different things that are just so messed up. But I want you to know that the answer is not living according to what the world says. Anytime that we do, we always invite, anytime we bring sex outside of what God's word says and live and bring it in line with what the world says, we always bring scars into our life. What do I mean by that? I was reading a book this past week, and inside of the book, it was talking about, it was drawing a parallel between how sharks, when they mate or have sex, this took a left turn, they'll bring scars, or they have scars that happen on their body. And what do I mean by that? Basically, the book was saying how you can identify a female, a great white shark or shark in general, and you could tell if she's of mating age because she'll have scars on side of her body, because the male shark has to hold on somehow, so he'll bite onto the female shark, and it leaves scars behind. It's interestingly enough, the female shark's skin is twice as thick as the male shark's because of that. So you can see on sharks, you can look it up later, or now, or not. That's weird. But you can see these scars that basically communicate sex. Sex brings scars. And the reason that's so just profound is not just with sharks that sex brings scars. It's with all of us. Not just physically on the outside, usually not. I mean, maybe that's possible, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. What do I mean by scars? I mean, think about it. When I think about scars, I think about the family friend whose entire family just disintegrated after their dad's sexual sin was exposed. That's a scar. Sex brought. I think about the friend who was molested by a family member at a young age. Scar. Some of the deepest wounds inside of this room, I know, are from sex, and they're scars. Anytime sex is introduced outside of the context of marriage, scars. I think about the friend who was raped by a stranger in her own home. Scar. I think about the friend whose wife struggles with sexual intimacy because of the shame of her past and the memories it brings up. That's a scar. Think about the friend who got pregnant after casually hooking up with a guy and had an abortion. And every year, on the anniversary of that decision, she weeps, thinking about the age the child would have been. Scar. Sex always brings scars outside of marriage. I think about the pastor who was exposed to pornography at a junior high in a hotel with other boys on their way to church camp, and battled pornography for 9 years, and the shame and guilt and all the ways it made him not honor women. That's my scar. Or that's one of them. Anytime we introduce sex outside of the context of marriage, it always brings scars. And the God who's there, it's not anti-sex. He's crazy. He invented sex. That's absurd. Every time people are like, man, the devil's sex, drugs, rock and roll, at least sex is not on his side. All of them really would be on God's side. But at least for sure that one. No one's accusing Steve Jobs of being like, you're anti-iPhone, dude. That's what you are. That would not make any sense. He's the inventor of sex. There's commands in the Bible that say, Proverbs chapter 5, it's a command. Husbands, let the breasts of your wife satisfy you continually. Always be intoxicated in her love. That is a command from God. Think about that. He's not anti-sex. That's absurd. He's pro-sex and he's pro-you. And he knows that sex outside of marriage always brings scars. Finally, the third idea I just want to talk about briefly, and then we'll land the plane, is just what's the remedy for these lies? And the remedy for the lies is always what the remedy anytime there's a lie is, which is the truth. The remedy is replacing the lies with the truth. What truths am I talking about? I want to talk to the girls for just a second. And guys, you're in the room, so I'm talking to everybody. Your value has nothing to do with how sexual you are, your sex appeal, the way that you look, your body. Your value is esteemed and given to you because of one reason. You are made in the image of God. Let me be clear. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26, 27, it says that in the beginning, God created them male and female. In the image of God, he created them. What does that mean? Maybe you came into the room and you're like, guys are made in the image of God, and females are kind of like, hey, we're here to help. That is a lie. Man and woman have been made equally in the image of God. In other words, if you got rid of all the women, you would lose part of the image of God that's reflected in mankind. Your value has nothing to do with the way that you look. Your value has nothing to do with the way that you look. Your value has nothing to do with the way that you look. The value that you have has nothing to do with what a guy says about you, with how good you are in bed. Your value has nothing to do with the past that you have. Your value has been given by God. You cannot lose it even if you wanted to. Your value has nothing to do with the way that you look. And this is important because here's what I know. If you're in the room, the way that you see yourself, the guys in your life are going to adopt and embrace the way that you see yourself. You think you're damaged goods, you think you're not worth anything. The men in your life that are going to surround you are going to be men who think you're damaged good, not worth anything, and they will take advantage of that. Your value has nothing to do with your past, has nothing to do with your present, has nothing to do with the way that you look. It has been given by God. You couldn't lose it if you wanted to. You've been made in the image of God. This is why pornography for all of us is so dangerous, because it communicates that a woman is just there for sex. She's a sex object. She's a two-dimensional idea on a screen. Your value has nothing to do with the way that you look. The second idea I want to talk about is around the topic of modesty. Everyone's favorite topic. I also, 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9 and 10 says this, I also want women to dress modestly, with decency and propriety, adorning themselves, not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but with good deeds appropriate for women who profess to worship God. Paul, what are you saying? You can't wear 7 jeans or pearls? No. He's saying, I want you to be considerate of the way that you dress. I want you to dress modestly. Now, stay with me, because inside of the room, a couple responses are going on. One is that the vibe can kind of be like, Christians are always like, hey, modest is hottest. Not really. And I want to address that. We live in a world where men are being forced these images all the time. And there is something carnal in every single guy inside of this room, every girl inside of this room, but it's being fed, and there's messages that, hey, what's really hot is women should look a certain way. Is there part of every guy that likes the way Beyonce inappropriately dresses at the halftime show? Yes. But it doesn't make it right. And you can either be a part of perpetuating the problem or helping and providing a solution by dressing modestly for your brothers in the room. And you may be like, that's their problem. If they lust over me, I could be like in an astronaut suit. And you'd be like, what's up, girl? Astronaut? Yeah. Yes, that is true. But it doesn't mean you have license to dress however that you want. Is it our problem? Yes, it's our problem. The Bible commands you are to dress modestly. Not frumpily and not in like a, burlap sack. Be stylish. Go all in. Whatever that means. But help your brothers your brothers in the room by dressing modestly. That means including on your social media. And this is where I'm just going to lean in a little bit more here. That's what we do. Welcome to the Porch. That means being cognizant of what you post, or being aware, mindful of what you post on social media. It means, candidly, you may not want to put the bikini pic as your profile picture. Awkward. And that's not because you are, not because you don't trying to stymie. Maybe I am trying to stymie. Paul's trying to stymie. Let's blame it on Paul. That's what Paul's trying to do here. Help your brothers and sisters in the room. You will get attention for the way that you dress. It may not be the right type of attention, and it may not honor God. Men, I think the lies around women are sex object is something that you are going to face, that I face every single day. And the best action step or truth that you've got to embrace is you've got to pursue healing. Maybe for the rest of your life. You've got to kill pornography. You've got to get rid of, you've got to be mindful of what you're feeding yourself. Maybe you're watching Netflix. There's so much junk on Netflix that's just as bad as pornography. Be mindful of the songs or the things that you're listening to. The reason pornography, as I said earlier, is so dangerous is it feeds the lie women are objects. And further, it's every time you watch it, you're going to school and you're getting taught, hey, that one woman is not enough and a real woman is not enough. And you are hurting, if not ruining your marriage, long before you even get married. It will not go away. You've got to kill it. You've got to live in community and confess and live honestly with other guys. If you are in the room and you would say, I struggle, I got an email today, an email yesterday, constantly we get it from guys as it relates to struggling with pornography. The same thing happens every time. They come down front or they'll talk or they want to meet, struggling with pornography, want to really experience freedom from it. Well, tell me what struggling looks like. Where's your phone? And they'll pull out their phone and they have an iPhone 10, they have an iPhone. And they are walking around with the thing that gives them access to pornography. It would be like someone who's an alcoholic walking around with a flask. You may have to do what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5, go to extreme lengths, where he uses an analogy saying, cut off your hand even if you have to, where you have to go back to getting a razor phone for a season. And you're like, I can't get a razor. How badly do you want to be healed? You need to get Covenant Eyes. I could not advertise and talk enough about Covenant Eyes, which is a software that you can put onto your computer that will help monitor the websites that you're going to. And this is speaking from someone who faces the same temptation every single day. That the truth that you've got to embrace is you have got to move towards healing. And that involves community and living authentically with other guys inside of your life. This changed my life. My junior year of college, coming honest with other dudes and opening up about pornography and getting Covenant Eyes, it changed my life. Freedom is possible. And you can experience it. Finally, to the guys, and then I have one more thing to everyone. You've got to reject what the world tells you to look for in a woman. That it is not curves that you're looking for, some, hey, I'm a butt guy or boob guy. You are looking for character. I cannot highly communicate and encourage that enough. I've been on staff here almost 10 years. I can't tell you the number of stories of people who married, wow, she was a knockout, and their marriage went to ashes. What was like, man, she's incredible, the sex is amazing, and then they weren't believers, or maybe they were kind of like marginally, they were cultural Christians, essentially. Sleeping together before they got married, they ended up getting married, she was a knockout, and they were miserable together. When I compare that to the men and women who married one another, not because of their bust size, but because of their commitment to Jesus, it's undeniable the difference. And it's not even close in terms of those who are happily married. You've got to reject what the world says around us. Ladies, candidly, you've got to reject what the world says. But to the men, you are looking for a godly woman of character. Finally, the last lie that I think you've got to replace with the truth is that your past does not define you. Your past does not define you. Your past does not define you. If you trust in Jesus and you walk with him, regardless of your sexual sin in your past, regardless of the sexual baggage that you may carry, regardless of the abuse, that wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. Regardless of what you carry around, God is not done with you. Your past does not define you. And if you will take those things to Jesus, there's no limit to which he can't rewrite the story in your life. This is personal to me. I have a very close member of my family who says things like, man, a godly guy would never want a girl like me. That is a lie. A godly guy will see you. If you're in the room, I want you to listen. If you've ever wondered that, if you've ever thought like, man, that works for the preacher boy up there, and yeah, kind of all these perfect people that have it all together, but that wouldn't work for me. A godly guy would never like a girl like me. You have bought a lie. A godly guy, just like a godly woman, will see you like Jesus would see you and does see you. What do I mean by that? Jesus, the perfect one of God, a godly guy, will see people like Jesus sees people. How did Jesus see sexually broken people, which was everyone? How did he see maybe the extreme sexually broken person, the person who can't even talk about what they've done? Well, we're actually told multiple times. We're told of an occasion with a woman, in one story in particular, in John chapter 8. And in John chapter 8, this woman who's been caught in adultery, she's caught having sex with a man who's not her husband, caught in a sexual sin that the law said she deserved to die for. And she's dragged in front of Jesus, caught red-handed. Jesus, we caught her. The law says we should kill her. What do you say? Jesus bends over. This crowd of men standing around and a woman in the middle. And we're told he begins writing with his finger in the dirt. We don't even know what. And then he stands up and he says, "Let him without sin cast the first stone." And the Bible says that one by one, from the oldest to the youngest, the men walked away. And left was just Jesus and the woman. And Jesus bent back down, wrote again. And then Jesus looked up, and here's what he said. John chapter 8, verse 10, Jesus said, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir." "Then neither do I condemn you." Jesus declared, "Now go and leave your life of sin." He says, I don't condemn you. I don't condone your sin, but I do not condemn you. How would a godly guy or a godly girl see someone who has a sexually broken past? If they're a godly person like Jesus, they will see them like Jesus sees them. As a person that is just like them, a candidate for God's grace, who God can use, who God can restore, who can be a part of experiencing the healing that only Jesus offers and brings. I'll close here. I mentioned that idea of just sex brings scars, and the sexual sin in my life has brought scars. Jesus can heal, and he is healing them. Sexual sin in your life has brought scars. But the sexual or the scars in your life and in my life are just represented by our sexual sin are not the only scars that were brought about. There were other scars that were brought and introduced. And unlike the scars in your life that don't communicate how valuable you are, your sexual past, when you think back, oh man, that hurts, or man, what was done to you, it doesn't communicate how valuable you are. That's not what your scars communicate. These scars do. That the scars brought about by your sexual sin, every decision that you made to sleep with that person, to give your body away, every abortion collectively represented in the room, to everyone listening online, every decision that was made to look at pornography, every decision made to go to the strip club, every decision sexually that was sinful, brought about these scars, and they're the scars that are now currently on the hands and legs of the Savior Jesus, who said, I will go to such great lengths that I will bring about scars on my own body that do not communicate regret and baggage and pain. They communicate how valuable you are to God. What do I mean by that? Let me listen really closely, and I'm shutting it down. We are landing this plane right here. What do I mean by that? The value of a thing, economics 101. You remember it? Anyone take economics? Economics 101. The value of a thing is determined by what it will bring. The value of something is determined by what someone's willing to pay for it. That's what determines its value. I could say my car is worth $1 million. I could say, but at the end of the day, it's only worth what someone will pay for it. What is your value? What is the value you have? Some of you in the room, you think you are not worth anything. Some of you think that you're worth what you did today. The value you have, let me tell you very clearly, the value of a thing is determined by what it will bring. What does your life bring? The Son of God, who would lay down his life, whose scars communicate how valuable you are to God, despite your past, despite your present. That's how loved that you are. You've searched, and maybe you've searched and looked at all kinds of places to feel wanted. That's the number one reason guys look at pornography. It's the number one reason why girls give themselves away. And all along, the truth of the matter is you've been wanted all along, so desperately wanted. How much more valuable could you be? You couldn't. You are more valuable to God than anything else, that he would give his own life for you. Your value is not determined by what you wear, the way you look, by what you've done. It was determined at a cross named Calvary, or on a hill named Calvary, and a cross that rested there. There's no story in the room that God is done with. The years the locusts have eaten, he could restore, and he will restore. If you will return to him, if you will walk with him. Many of you need to hear me loud and clear. It wasn't your fault. And healing is offered. Perfectly? I don't know. I know permanently in eternity. But it's the best shot we got. It's the only shot our world has, candidly. A world that's so sexually messed up. And we have the solution. It's not in a hashtag. It's in Jesus. And it's offered to you, it's offered to me. Let me pray. God, unlike the pineapple, which value has gone up and down and changed, the value of my friends in the room has not. It was determined, it was set, it was paid for, it was done. The life of even your son. God, I pray for anyone in this room who has never trusted in Jesus as the payment for their sin. They carry the shame and guilt and regret from decisions they made that may have something to do with sexual sin, may have just all across the board, that right now you would speak to them, minister to them, press on their heart, and that they tonight would receive just forgiveness, take a step in the direction of healing. I pray that you would destroy the shackles of pornography in this room. The men would confess and women would confess and would begin to experience healing. I pray for anyone who's sitting here just believing a lie from the enemy that they're damaged goods, that you would break through in a way that my words couldn't, the song we're about to sing couldn't, and you would renew their mind around who they are, which is who you say that they are. Yours, forgiven, chosen, pure, and there is no story too messed up for you to heal, for a plot twist to come in and something to take place beyond even anything we could imagine. And so, God, would you unleash that now? We confess we are sexually broken and we have walked in sexual sin, Lord. And we receive your forgiveness by grace, by trusting in what Jesus did for us, dying in our place and rising from the dead. We are who you say we are, God. We worship you now in song. Amen.